We're proposing a complete elimination of capital gains taxes on small business investment, along with an extension of write-offs to encourage small businesses to expand in the coming year. And I believe it's worthwhile to create a tax incentive to encourage small businesses to add and keep employees, and I'm going to work with Congress to pass one.
Listen, there he is, a zero capital gains tax rate on small businesses. That is President Obama, the supply-sider. On the other hand, there they go again. House Democrats are proposing a gigantic tax hike on all investment partnerships, venture capital, real estate, private equity funds, hedge funds. They're going to take the top rate from 15% to 35%, and maybe even more. Well, this is something we need to talk about. Joining us now are former Vermont Governor and Democratic National Committee Chairman Howard Dean. And we have CNBC contributor and syndicated columnist Jerry Bowyer. Now, we played that important shot. On the one hand, Mr. Obama has turned to the supply side, at least part of the way, Howard Dean. On the other hand, your friends in the House just want to jack up these tax rates on investment partnerships, tax capital to death, and retard economic recovery. Now, Howard, how can this be?
Well, first of all, small businesses create 74% of all the new jobs in this country. You can't say the same for hedge funds. Look, you cannot underestimate the fury of the American people, which is reflected in Congress, at Wall Street. They blame Wall Street for all the things that have gone on in the last year and a half. The AIGs, the bailouts, they're furious at that. Look, I happen to agree with the bailouts because I think the world economy would have collapsed without them, but that's not where the American people are. So it's not surprising that on the one hand, they're going to cut taxes for Main Street businesses and they're going to raise taxes for Wall Street businesses, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Well, I don't believe in doing public policy by fury. That's not how you build an economy.
That's how the Congress works, though, I'm sorry to tell you.
Okay, but we're adults, and we can tell them that it's the wrong thing to do, that you don't legislate out of fury or vengeance or group justice and say finance is bad and small business is good. Yes, small business creates jobs, and finance creates small business. And if we don't have hedge funds and venture capital and other forms of private equity, we're not going to have the growth in small business.
Well, I don't think venture capital, hedge funds, and private equity are all the same things. Hedge funds doesn't really do much investing in small businesses. Private equity does, venture capital does a lot of it.
Yeah, but private equity has carry trade, and so so by going after the carry trade, they're going to go after anyone who uses that compensation structure, and that includes venture capital funds. So basically, we're going to burn or eat the seed corn because people in Congress have a fury going on.
Well, I think it's not people in Congress; they're representing the constituents and the people of America. We've got look. It's very tough right now. I saw the debate about Goldman Sachs, which I think is a great company, and the bonuses and so forth. You know, to most Americans, it looks like Wall Street's learned almost nothing from the near catastrophe that happened, that the government had to bail out. You know, we may end up talking about the debt ceiling a little later here. Well, a lot of the reason the debt ceiling is where it is because we bailed out the American economy.
The government didn't have to bail them out.
Caused by Wall Street.
Let me just ask this question, though, and get both of you to respond. The argument has been made for many years, before the financial meltdown, that the private equity firms and the hedge funds should be taxed at the normal corporate rate, which is 35%, for all their income, whether it's carried interest, whether it's investment income or regular salaried or administrative income. Now, I can live with that reform, Howard, if we reformed our corporate tax rate and got it down to 20–25%, where the rest of the world is. But you've got a punitive high marginal tax rate on corporations, and now they're going to duplicate that on private investment partnerships. Howard, you can't have growth without capital. You can't have capitalism without capital. If you tax capital heavily, Howard, we're never going to have the investment money to recover this economy.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with what you just said. The question is, what is the right rate at which we should tax capital? Look, capital gain, and there's another debate about what carried interest is. I haven't been involved in this debate for over a year, so I went and looked up the Investopedia definition of carried interest. It is, quote, the income in which the partners in a private equity firm or hedge fund make. Well, income is income.
From
Should
the
it be taxed as income?
No.
Go ahead, Jerry.
No, read the whole article of Investopedia. There's more information in the bottom. Some forms of income are capital gains and some form are conventional income. The reason you tax carried interest as a capital gain is because it is a capital gain, because there's volatility and risk. Well, look, someone who's employed, they get their paycheck every 2 weeks. It's set. Somebody who gets paid by carried interest, they find out at the end of the year if they're going to get anything. and it's highly volatile.
All right,
so we tax capital lower because of that risk.
I got to get out. We're going to have to leave it there because I want to come back and talk about this debt limitation because I know that Howard Dean was a conservative, fiscal conservative governor of Vermont. I know he is, and I know he's going to rail against this debt limitation increase. That's what we're going to talk about when we come back. A fiscal conservative governor of Vermont and a distinguished doctor to boot. Jerry Bowyer, Howard Dean. We'll be right back to talk about Congress spending the taxpayers' money wildly.